We pray, we pray, we pray, we pray. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another segment of my radio broadcast, On Point. And this is, of course, your servant and senator, Carla Joseph, welcoming you to another segment of On Point, my bi-weekly radio broadcast heard every other Tuesday here on AM, the People's Station, from 6 to 6:30 p.m. Well, I want to be able to report to you on some of the actions and my activities in the last couple of weeks since we last spoke. First of all, before I go into that, this evening I am honored to have as my guest again our very wonderful former Senator, the Honorable Myron Jackson, who serves as chair of the 175th Emancipation Proclamation Committee, Subcommittee on Research, Data, and Digitization. Tonight's discussion is going to be about Freedom Week. And we have a lot to report because I too serve on that committee and I am the chairperson, actually the co-chairperson. I'm joined also by a young gentleman by the name of Jelani Ritter. I'm the co-chair of the Committee on Media and Communications. So we are going to have a fabulous discussion. But before we go into that discussion, because time really flies here, especially when I have this honorable gentleman here with me, we normally have a lot to say and a lot to broadcast about. So one of the things we want to assure is that I talk about some of the things that I've been up to since we last had our discussion. First of all, I went to San Juan, Puerto Rico to attend the 30th annual Nobel, and Nobel stands for National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women Conference in Puerto Rico. And what a wonderful time I had. And I was joined by other legislative women around our nation. And we talked about issues that range and topics that range from maternal health, women's health, education, which is up my alley, workforce development, as well as housing. And that's very important, housing aspect. And that was one of the main reasons I attended this conference. It was very informative. And we also elected a new president of Nobel, and her name is Tanya Anderson, and she hails from the great state of Georgia. Also, as soon as I came off the airplane on June 23rd, I had to catch a ferry over to St. John for our first of the 3 town hall meetings that we are having, which is sponsored by the Committee on Government Operations, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection, which I chair, on the taxi cab industry. That's very important industry. The taxi cab men and women are the first line of our greeters and the first line our visitors see when they come to the Virgin Islands. So that's one of the things that I've been up to. So with no further discussion on those things, but before I go into the Freedom Week, I wanted to mention something key with the taxi cab meeting that we had. It was well attended. I really want to thank the men and women from the taxi cab commission who came out. Director Vernice George, Miss Myrna Vernice Gums, Miss Myrna George, who is the secretary of the Taxi Cab Commission Board, Mr. Maynard, who is an enforcement officer. But most especially, I want to thank the men and women of St. John who work within this taxi cab industry for being there and for being attentive and for asking questions. We also had a former senator who was there, Senator Carmen Wesselhoff, and two of the members of the Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection joined me. They were Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, as well as Senator Samuel Carrion from the St. Croix district. So we had a very robust conversation, and we're hoping that a number of the issues that was revealed, which deals mostly with operations, not necessarily legislative, but operations and how they operate at the Taxi Cab Commission. They're looking more to digitize and get away from the pen to paper and really get up to speed as far as technology. And that's a long awaited and arduous task that they have, but we are going to be able to support them at the legislature. Now, to get into what we really want to talk about, Freedom Week is here, Senator Jackson.
Yes, it most certainly is. Good evening, audience, and happy Freedom Week.
Freedom Week is here. I know at my home church, the Memorial Moravian Church, we already had, and our pastor said, made a really powerful prayer, which begins Freedom Week. So we had that day of prayer, and I noted that some other congregations throughout our community had that day of prayer. And so we're really thankful and appreciative to them for actually doing that. And, you know, when the prayers goes up, the blessings come down. And so we have a number of other activities that are going to be taking place for the week, and we could just go through them so our listening audience could be aware of them. So tomorrow is a big day.
Yes, tomorrow. I just want, before we get into the schedule, so people understand that our residents, and they understand their history, excuse me, that this week is designated Freedom Week by Virgin Islands enactment of law. It was passed some years ago, and if I'm not mistaken, it was sponsored by Positive Nelson, Senator Positive Nelson. And it really lays the outline for the observance of emancipation in the Virgin Islands of the United States. So it's by law that we are now engaged in the observance of Freedom Week. So as you stated, the ecumenical services throughout the territory was held. I attended the St. Andrew's Church, and Pastor KB gave a very moving sermon, and we were celebrating our mom's 95th birthday at that church as well.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was twofold for us.
Wow, that was a jubilation right there, because 95 years old. Be sure, I saw it on Facebook, just to digress a bit. I did see it on Facebook, so please give the Queen my best, Queen Mother, my best regards, and most importantly, my love.
Thank you very much, Senator. So tomorrow is the Living Legends for the St. Thomas St. John District, and that presentation and reception will be at the Sea Grape Restaurant, which was formerly Pizza Hut on the waterfront on St. Thomas, Veterans Drive. And this Living Legends of Culture was an engagement with the community, and they submitted nominations, and they voted, and they selected members of the community as living legends. Do you have that listing?
I don't have that. I think it's going.
I have it though, but I'll pull it up in a second.
Okay, and so that was done by a survey. I think that we concluded the survey in the latter part or early part of this month, because we had to put it out several times because we were having some challenges technical challenges with getting people to vote. I even facilitated sending an email so that this one of the living legends could actually be voted upon, and their vote be counted. And I just am very much a champion for voting and persons being able to vote. Okay, and this event is sponsored by First Bank.
Yes,
And
it is.
And
we want to thank our corporate sponsors.
Yes, we have to.
Throughout the territory.
Yes, because we have a number of corporate sponsors who are assisting and partnering with the government and other government agencies to put on all of the activities we have for Freedom Week. And so here are the winners of that survey. We have Glenn Kwabena Davis, Dr. Gilbert Sproul, Peter Holmberg, Peter Bailey, Dr. Marilyn Krieger, Randolph and Randall Donovan, Jose Raul Carrillo, the Honorable Vern Hodge, Dr. Lawrence Sewer, Celie Adiemi, Malvern Gums, Anna Francis, Kumba Ulanihi.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at that spelling.
Yes.
I think it means, well, Edney.
It's Liba Olanihi.
Yes, Liba. Oh, that's who I know. I didn't know if it was somebody else, but it's Liba Olanihi, Edney Freeman, and our very own, who is in the studio here with me, the Honorable Myron Jackson. So congratulations to everyone. And of course, we want to definitely thank our sponsor for that event, which is First Bank, for stepping up to the plate and sponsoring that event for us. It's going to be held tomorrow, June 28th at 6:30 p.m. at Sea Grape Restaurant, which is formerly known as a Pizza Hut location on Waterfront.
Yes, it is. And then on the June 30th, we moved to St. Croix Living Legends of Culture, presentation and reception at the Buccaneer Hotel at 6:30. They have the unveiling call of the conch at the Buccaneer Hotel as well. Do you have that listing?
I don't.
Okay, we'll pull that up and
we'll pull up all
that.
of the listings. But then we have, just moving forward to July 2nd, we have St. Patrick's Catholic Church Commemorative Holy Mass. That's in St. Croix. And that begins at 11 a.m. And that's going to be live streamed. And then we have the Fort to Fort Freedom Ride. Again, that's going to happen on July 2nd, and that starts at 8 a.m. And this one is what I really would like to attend, is the Clear the Road Ancestral Walk and interactive performance with Oceana James, and that begins at 3:30 p.m. And this is in St. Croix as well on July 2nd. And it starts from the Creaky Dam and ends outside of Fort Frederick with the building of a community altar. I was told for this activity, you have to come with a notepad, you have to come with a pen, you should dress all in white. And this is for the Clear the Road Ancestral Walk. And we need to bring an instrument. How exciting is that going to be?
It's going to be very exciting.
That's good. And something that's interactive, I would say, and it's at no cost. And it is so great that we're going to be having that, because then, people, especially our younger generation, they could have that experience and that exposure, so that in the next 25 years, when we'll be celebrating our 200th emancipation, they could remember and chalk that up to memories and experiences that they encountered on their 175th anniversary of emancipation here in the Virgin Islands. Then we move on to July 3rd, the 4th to 4th Freedom Walk on St. Croix, which begins at 4 a.m. and he does this every year, is going to be led by the Honorable Positive Nelson. He's going to lead that walk. You were able to pull up
Yes.
the persons who on St. Croix who won the Living Legends of Culture, who were nominated. Okay. First off, we have Miss Caroline Adams Fox, and everyone knows that Miss Fox is a supervisor of election. Of course, our very own Tim Duncan. Then we have Francis Malloy, A.J. Ventura, Zara O'Reilly Bates, former Senator and former Lieutenant Governor Gerard Luss James II, Asta William, Sedell Peterson, Rashidi Clemens, Willard John, Richard Schrader, Richard Schrader, Dr. Olasi Davis, one of the greatest champions for environmental justice we have, Curly Solomon John, Bradley Christian, Jelani Ritter, Red Holt, Rookie Jackson, the Honorable Kurt Viale, Mario Moorhead, Keisha Christian, the Honorable Adelbert Bryan, Dimitri Copeman.
I think those were all names that were
nominated. Right. And some of them, these are all the nominations, but we don't have the final list.
Let's see if we can get the final. Most of the top individuals that you called were the 15th. So it stops at Jelani Ritter, which are 15.
Okay.
And these were other nominations that were offered. So you gave the top 15.
Okay. So that's terrific. So we have the St. Croix Living Legends of Culture, and of course we have the St. Thomas, St. John Living Legends of Culture. And so those persons, as we indicated, there was a voting process and people nominated those individuals and the top 15. And we were there. Today we had a wonderful ceremony at the legislature to bestow on two persons, because we missed giving them their flame
award.
Yeah, the Keepers of the Flame
who
award.
Are individuals who are deceased. So that's the difference between the two awards. We began with honoring the ancestors of those who made significant contributions, and there were award ceremonies held on St. Croix and St. Thomas for the St. Thomas St. John district. And those awards were presented, but some individuals, for whatever reason, were not able to be there at the time that those awards were presented. So today we had the opportunity to present to the Pena family and also to Frankie Hoeb for former Senator Ali Paul, who many of you would remember as a senator, but also as a tradition bearer in the festival arts of the Moko Jubi.
So that was
and cultural ambassador.
So those were two awards that we gave out jointly today in the legislature, and I was really impressed just with the Pena family. We had two sisters and a niece who was there, and it took a little bit of work to track them down. I even had went by their old Delano Pena, his old house in Sugar Estate, and to try to track them down, but we were able to track them down. So It was great. It was really great that we were able to bestow on them. And you could see how touched they were by actually receiving that flame, that symbol of a flame that we as a committee came up for those persons who are deceased, and labeled the whole event as thanking them and commemorating and recognizing their contributions as keepers of the flame of freedom. And so we could go on.
Yes, and I wanted to make sure that we get the St. Thomas St. John district in for activities, so we have that schedule. I have it here.
Okay.
So on July 3rd, which is Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, Fort to Fort Walk, which you mentioned, at 4 p.m. And then we go into the tribute to the ancestors and libation at Bodo Park at 6 a.m. And then we have the Fort to Fort Freedom Race at 7 a.m., Emancipation Day Parade starting at the Frederiksted Post Office at 9:30, and coming through the town of Frederiksted, and then the official emancipation ceremony at Bodo Park. It omits the calling of the ancestors at 10, and then the official program at 11. So that needs to be inserted in here, where the calling of tribute to the ancestors would be at 11 with libation, and then the official emancipation ceremony at Bodo Park at 11 a.m. There's an emancipation luncheon on the pier at 1 p.m. and Clear the Road art exhibit that's being that will open at Fort Frederick Museum at 5 p.m.
I suspect all of that is included in these parts, and this is being updated as we go along.
Right.
So let's talk about those St. Thomas activities.
Well, let's just make sure we have the fireworks at 8 p.m. and on Shackle Music Festival in Freedom City at 8:30. Now, we are celebrating emancipation in the territory collaboratively as a Virgin Islands community. So this is the event on St. Croix, which is the official program, and then at the same time or different hours, we are bringing the programs in the St. Thomas St. John district.
I understand it's going to have a big screen in Emancipation Garden to broadcast the activities simultaneously.
Yes.
Okay. And so that's great. And then also in St. John, there's going to be a big screen there as well.
Yes.
So we are going to be simulcasting the major part of the July 3rd official ceremonies in both St. Thomas as well as on St. John. And you're going to ask where? And it's going to be at the Emancipation Garden.
Yes.
Here is St. Thomas, and also at the bandstand.
The David Monsanto bandstand.
The David Monsanto bandstand in St. Thomas, and as well as the Powell bandstand.
No, it's at the which I'll give you in a second. It's Slim's lot in Cruz Bay. That's where that's happening.
Okay, so tell us where Slim's lot is located for persons who may want to
when
travel
you come
over.
off the dock, if you would be going to Wharf Side, as soon as you turn the corner, that venue is around the corner from the ferry as you make the first right across from the Wharf Side Mall.
Okay, so it's going to be at that. I thought it was going to be at the back.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the areas where it's going to be located, and it's going to be simulcast. You ready for...
Yes. So in the St. Thomas district, of course, the simulcast begins at 10, and at 12 p.m., the conch shell blowing and drumming will begin in the Emancipation Garden. Then they have the Rock City Emancipation Program ceremony beginning at 1. At 1:30, there are cultural presentations, music, concert, open mic. 3 to 6, youth and family activities. That's all between the hours of 3 to 6, and cultural presentations would start at 1:30, then 3 to 6 would be youth and family activities. candle lighting and libation vigil at 6 p.m. That's the Emancipation Day Coalition Committee, sponsored by the Pan-African Support Group, Ascension Liberty Inc., and We Grow Food Inc., Kangshell Media, LLC, and Emancipation of Africans in Latitude 18 Islands. Then on St. John, that program begins a simulcast, at 10 to 1, the Quail Bay Resurrection band will be in the bandstand at Frank Power Park.
I know I saw something with the bandstand. I remember seeing something with the bandstand, yes.
And then we have that sponsored by the 175th Emancipation Celebration Committee and the St. John Historical Society. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have the St. John Drama Club presenting Who Was Anna Haggard, and at Slim's Man's parking lot.
That's what you were talking about,
Right.
Slim's Man's Park. But so it does start at the Franklin Powell Bandstand in St. John.
Right, at
and
10
then
to
people
1.
could just walk right over
Yes.
to Slim's.
And then I have to say, for transparency, so people would understand, usually this is held in the Festival Village. Regrettably, they were not able to present from the Festival Village due to sound check by the festival committee.
But we're making it work.
And we're making it work.
We're going to make it work. We have to.
So the sponsors of the St. John program are the Transportation Services, Starfish Market and Deli, Canal Bay Resort, VI Department of Sports, Parks and Recreation, Slim Man's Parking Lot, VI Division of Festivals, Nazareth Lutheran Church, and the VI 175th Emancipation Celebration Committee.
Okay, and I just want to thank all of the sponsors. Our time is very limited, to just thank all of the sponsors, corporate sponsors, and the departments that joined on with us as part of the 175th Emancipation Commemoration. We mentioned First Bank, a huge sponsor. Then we had Diageo U.S. Virgin Islands. Oh my gosh, VIA. Both Senator Jackson and I were there for the unveiling of the VIA telephone book directory. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and you should love it as a people
and
too.
That's sponsored the work of Elroy Simmons.
Yes, and he did the mural. He did the mural for the Earl B. Otley Legislative Hall, and that is actually was displayed on the cover of the
section of it, the Freedom section.
Yeah, on the directory. So that was a really great production. Then we have Crujan Rum, also is a sponsor, the University of the Virgin Islands, who did several of our forums and had some really deep discussion. Royal Caribbean, they're also a sponsor, and we have Southland Gaming. Liberty joined in as a sponsor, and we want to also give some notice to the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, their division of libraries, archives, and museums. Here, I remembered it. And they're doing a fantastic job, as well as the Virgin Islands Port Authority. I want to touch briefly on what is coming up. This is a big thing. This art exhibit. Oh my goodness. I really hope that people can be able to go over to St. Croix and witness this art exhibit that's going to be on display at Fort Frederick. So they're going to start off at 5 o'clock on July 3rd with the art exhibit opening. And guess what? This art exhibit isn't going to just be open to the public on this one day. They're extending it out until October 20th. So you have an opportunity beyond July 3rd. You, the public, have an opportunity beyond July 3rd to be able to view the art exhibit. And we're going to have to devise a way for those persons who can't travel to St. Croix to be able to see all of the artwork that's being displayed. So I'm thinking, and I've had discussion with our chairwoman, former Senator Carol Burke, and she indicated that a lot of the media streaming is going to be taking place too. So that's part of the committee that you also chair with the digitization Senator Jackson, to be able to have the documentary here of everything that we took and activities that took place so that we can look at it and also archive it and have it for our 200th celebration.
Yes.
God spare our lives.
Yeah. Before we end, I just want to say the name of that exhibition is Clear the Road. And we thank the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, Division of Libraries and Archives and Museums for their collaboration with the committee. And we want to thank the director and the curator out for their engagement. And the exhibit runs till October 20th from 9 to 4. And it brings together some unique artists from various...
I have a listing of the artists.
You have the time?
I have... WSTA is the People Station. So some of the artists here include Mark Milligan II with Danica David. And then they have, will be unveiled. We also have artist Elroy Simmons, who you spoke about, who did the mural in the Legislative Hall. Tiffany Yannick, Stephanie Hanlon, Chalana Brown, Gerville Larson, Ayana Fleewellen, Shalimar Cruz, Cynthia Oliver, Paloma McGregor, Lavon Bell, Siggy Torinas, Oceana James, who's going to be leading the ancestral walk, Augustine Holder, Elisa McKay, Victoria Rivera, Ray Llanos, Janet Cook Rutnick, Waldemar Broadhurst, and Sarah Hayes. Okay, so we have a full lineup. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to this segment of On Point. I also want to thank the esteemed and most honorable Myron Jackson for being here with me this evening.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
And also, we want to encourage you to come out to all of the activities, if you can, for the celebration of Freedom Week. We have a lot to celebrate. And also, I want to thank my staff for being here and the people at WSTA, and to you, the listening audience. So join me again on July 11th for another edition of On Point. And remember, you could always look me up on Facebook at Senator Carla Joseph, or check out my webpage at senatorcarlajoseph.com, and also give me a call at my office at 340-693-3515. Thank you all for listening to tonight's segment of On Point, and tune in again for On Point right here on the People Station, WSTA Radio, 1340 AM from 6 to 6:30 p.m. Together, let's stay on point, Virgin Islands. God bless you all, and good night.
Good evening.